Macbeth finally became the first two-time winner this season at Zandvoort. However, the close fight for the championship sees only 17 points separating the top 7 drivers. In an incredible twist of irony, Michael Davies still hasn't seen victory lane, yet holds the points lead. His search continues, but he assuredly must be looking over his shoulder as we get ready to watch round 6 of the PRL GT3 series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Oulton Park is an exemplary circuit when it comes to British racetracks. Filled with history and chock full of character, there's few places like it in the world. To get an introduction, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Oulton Park Circuit. This British track to the southeast of Liverpool is a staple in the UK club racing scene, but has also hosted series as high level as Formula One a few times. At least, with a small asterisk next to those events since they were non-championship rounds. The history and the lore of the venue is as unique as the layout itself. But that layout is more than just the international circuit this place is known for. An incredible 8 different versions can be run, but they all range between 1.5 to 2.5 miles in length. It's not exactly a long lap around here. What it lacks in that realm, it more than makes up for in bumps and hills. On top of that, Oulton Park offers some very fast corners, so you certainly won't get bored. Turns like Island Bend, Knickerbrook, and Druids can be utterly fearsome depending on which chicanes are at it. But even the slower corners often involve blind crests or kinked entries, making passing a very difficult prospect. In modern day, the place is mainly visited by touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and Formula 3. But here on iRacing, it's quite popular with the vintage community. Needless to say, this is a track that carries on the British tradition of fast, old-school style circuits that challenge and thrill drivers. It'll no doubt be a blast for both our competitors and fans today. I have to confess, this is not a track that I like to drive, but it tends to give us some interesting races, Adam.
Yeah, it's definitely one you have to hang on to. Now, while Zandvoort seemed perfect for the GT3 machines, Oulton Park is the other end of the spectrum. With a very narrow track surface, lots of long, medium, and high-speed corners with a couple of tight chicanes and 90s and a hairpin thrown in, this 2.7-mile, 4.3-kilometer, 17-turn international layout has it all. Well, except a decent place to pass, that is. Your best shots will be a risky late dive into Shell Oil, a dangerous attempt into Britain's or Hislop chicanes, or a deep dive into Lodge. Now, no straight is long enough to get a slingshot pass completed before the turns, so if you think you're faster, it'll take courage to effect a pass. Or you could simply wait for your car to make a mistake. With grass at the edge of the track and nearby Armco surrounding the circuit, any small mistake will result in large amounts of time lost for the afflicted driver at best. All that being said, qualifying and track position, as always in this series, will be at a premium, Joe.
No doubt about that, but also, as always, today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at SIMMSA.net.
The GT3 series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced chartering, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. So the championship, I mentioned it in the intro, is quite tight among many of the top drivers. But here's the thing. We have some serious twists we're going to go over because a few of these drivers have penalties. Michael Davies leading the way ahead of Diego Morales, about 11 points back. He's positioned the best today to try and take advantage of things. Sean Macbeth, 12 points back, but he's going to get a penalty, which we'll go over. J.R. Williams and Lewis Goodway. Goodway's going to get a penalty, both of them 13 points back. And then you've got Julio Palacio. Maybe he could get himself into things here to try and take advantage. 14 points back from our leader, and that's just the top drivers. Why don't we take a look at the team standing as well?
Now, teams are where things get interesting as well. Notice SRT Esport Blue has jumped up to the lead with SimMSA Esports down 24 points. That's due to some other penalties that have happened. I may not get time to mention tonight, but that's affected some of the point standings for these drivers. So SimMSA Esports down 24 points now. SRT Esports Black 37 points back in the lead with SRT Magenta in 63 points back, and iRacing still in the top 5, clinging on to it, 98 points back of SRT Esports Blue in the lead.
And for those who have not seen this series before, well, here's our details for today's race. There you can see they have a wide variety of cars, GT3 machinery that they're able to choose from. And we have a race of 40 minutes that will take place. It is open setup, but the fuel is limited, so there will be one pit stop that the drivers have to take to get to the checkered flag. And they have some penalties issued. Now, if you do get up to 11 incidents, it'll actually be quite impressive because you'll either be way down the field or you're going to have a very damaged car. If you somehow get to 17, you will be actually disqualified. The bonus points that they are grabbing for will be handed out for fastest lap as well as for pole position, which they're fighting for right now. Before we cover that, just a reminder that you can advertise here on the channel. We've got a link down in the description below if you want to take advantage of over 1 million global monthly impressions. Go and click that and see how to get your company here on the air. Right now, up at the top, I said that Diego Morales has a good shot to take advantage of things. Well, he is our provisional pole sitter. And he's got about 9 1,000ths over Sean Macbeth, but that isn't even much of a worry, I don't think, because Macbeth is going to have to do a drive-through today.
Yeah, he's going to have to do a drive-through on lap 1 according to our penalties sheet. So that'll be an interesting development as Dan Ravito, I mean, goodness gracious, Joe, the top 5 are underneath a tenth of a second between each other to try and close this qualifying down, with Morales having the smallest gap. Actually, I stand corrected. Michael Davies now has the smallest gap behind him, behind Dan Ravito. That's only 3 1,000ths of a second.
And apologies before I said that it was Goodway that had a penalty. It is Davies who has the penalty. He'll have to start from pit lane, unfortunately. So we're watching Macbeth come around onto the front stretch now. This time across a 38.4. So that's not going to do it for him. Davies, doesn't matter really where he's qualifying. I think about the only thing he can hope for is taking that pole position bonus point away from whoever might snatch it.
Yeah, pole position is going to be very important, and then he's going to be trying to claw his way through the field on one of the most difficult tracks to pass that we've had this season. And as I've been saying in our track descriptions this season, that's actually saying something. But the entire field separated. Well, there are a couple drivers who are a little bit further back, but our top 13 separated by less than a second as far as qualifying is concerned. Those top 5 still underneath a tenth of a second. Nobody's improved in those top 5 since their first laps, so this track might be getting a little bit harder to drive, a little bit more slicked up.
It's a little cool out there right now. We should point out it's only 67 degrees Fahrenheit on the track's surface. Not terribly windy, thankfully, as we're watching Morales see if he can improve on that time. And not this time through, unfortunately for him. I'm also kind of half watching guys like Julio Palacio because he's had an off somewhere on 2 of his laps. With chicanes, that's kind of to be expected. You can clip those and just discount your lap pretty easily as we watch Costello down in 10th. Looks like he doesn't improve on that 32.9. Jorge Flores tends to be a quick driver. I wonder if he could potentially maybe get higher than that P5.
Possibly. Here comes Sean Macbeth to cross the line. It looks like he's on a slow lap himself, starting a quick one. But another thing to note, Joe, is that we actually have a reduced number of drivers here compared to normal. We only have 30 drivers that have registered for this session. versus the usual 32 to 35 that we're used to. So a couple less cars on track rather for this session tonight.
Flores down and across the line, and that lap does not count. Then behind him, we've got Lewis Goodway. And it looks like that last lap, excuse me, has not counted for Goodway either, who has yet to set a time. This is not good since he is typically up at the very front of the field, so he has really got to hustle.
Yeah, Julio Palacio coming across 2/10 down off of his fastest time, unfortunately. Christopher Rhines looks like he's done 1:33.9, so Christopher all the way back in the 14s. This is a hot lap for Diego. Let's see whether or not he can improve on his time. He'd be the first to do so, and he can't. He's a good 8/10 off, unfortunately, so lots of drivers struggling with the current conditions. Those first laps really seem to be the fast ones today, Joe.
We also had an off track somewhere because that one did not count for him.
Oh, Ron Fusi off track himself there.
This is Costello yet again in the number 8. And another driver with a discounted lap. It seems that the track limits are proving a little bit troublesome for the drivers. So maybe what I was talking about earlier will be a bit of a worry. And drivers don't want to get themselves a penalty. Sean Macbeth down and across the line at 33.1 is nearly a second off of his quickest.
Yeah, Macbeth is hoping actually for some of these drivers to take the incidents a little bit too far, get a drive-through penalty, because that would mean that his drive-through penalty that he's going to take on lap 1 should be more or less no effect for him if he can get a couple of drivers throughout the field to get a couple more incidents than they need, and that would mean that they'd do a drive-through in the middle of the race, and that would possibly give him an opportunity to pass them as he's climbing back up the field.
I am not seeing anybody improve. I'm watching them come across the line. Foe's obviously on a slow one here as he missed the braking down into Lodge. Diego Morales just behind Dan Revito. Revito still in third, so let's see what he does as he crosses. Another non-lap for him, and Diego finally finds some pace. A 32.1 puts him 2.5 tenths clear of Macbeth.
All right, so it's going to put the gauntlet down for everybody. J.R. Williams crosses the line and does not improve, but just barely. It was a good lap for him. That being said, he's going to stay all the way down in 8th position. I can't believe I'm saying that right now. We got a 132.1 for the lead, and J.R. Williams down in 8th, a 132.7. It's so close.
O'Broughton, as he crosses, had a problem. Here's Macbeth just behind him, and it's a 32.2. That puts him closer. That would have taken the pole if Diego had not improved that last lap.
Here comes Michael Davies. Let's see whether he can improve his time. He only needs 3/1000ths of a second. He crosses the line, but it's about a second slower. So let's hope that he's got enough fuel and enough tires for another quick lap, because lap times are starting to come in here.
Jorge Flores up next. Oh, that lap did not count for him. David Menino's got a pretty good qualifying, which it looks like he's going to abandon at this point. He's happy with 7th as he heads off track. This is Jean-Marc Tremblay, shockingly down in 10th. Tends to be vying for podiums.
I mean, shockingly, Joe, but look how close it is up there for those top 10 positions. It's so tight, and also we're starting to see the lap times come down even farther, so these drivers are going to be even tighter together as Dan Revita crosses the line trying to improve on a 32.4, just 0.4 off.
Morales, that one didn't count. This will be his last one, but he just started. Aaron Law improved, but does not go up any positions with that quickest lap he just set. Jared Williams, his fastest lap, 32.7. I'm not sure if that, I think he was already in 8th place, so I don't think he climbed up anywhere.
Kyle Strykar's crossing the line. He's not going to improve, unfortunately. Now my eyes are on Michael Davies. If he could get this pole position, he gets that extra point, but then he'll have to start from the pits. So Davies really pressing hard right now. He's been pushing the car, but it's looking pretty much under control here. He's got the last couple corners to go. This is the most difficult corner on the circuit, and he blows it just a little bit. Gets a little too loose entering. Unfortunately, that's going to be the end of his attempts.
Yeah, and the checkered flag is now out for qualifying, so that is it for him. Lewis Goodway still looking for a lap time. Oh boy, he's really got to get one in here. This is it. And it's a 32.2. That's actually very good. Good enough for the front row on the last attempt.
Talk about a deep breath. Lewis Goodway's breathing there as he's able to get a good position. Janae able to get up to P12 there, and a couple of other drivers finishing as well. But wow, Goodway leaving it to the last second. Looks like Dan Revito's not going to count his time. He goes off track.
That will discount that lap. Morales, I don't think there's really going to be anybody behind him who can overtake him at this point, so he does not really need to complete this lap to try and take the pole position. He's going to finish it anyways, and it is his quickest anyways. The 32.1, just sneaking 3 1,000ths faster than his lap before. Aaron Law down and across the line. That one was not an improvement. What about Flanagan? 33.3. Hey, that's not bad. And that'll get him one spot.
Ooh, Stryker's going a second faster on that one. That's going to move him up to 20th.
Brett Barrett, our last one? I believe so. I think this might be our last car across the line. So the number 32 has it in 16th. He's solidly in the middle of the pack. Down and around Lodge. This is looking cleaner than we've seen a lot of drivers take that corner. It is quite tricky, but he's going to pull it in anyways, and he calls it a day. So let's go through our starting order here for round 6 of the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. It is Diego Morales who starts on the pole with Lewis Goodway in second. Sean Macbeth starting in third. Dan Revito, P4 for him with Michael Davies in fifth. So 2 of our top 5 starters will have to take penalties. Jorge Flores starts in 6th place. Julio Palacio in 7th. David Menino, P8 for him, and Jared Williams in at 9th, followed by Jean-Marc Tremblay in 10th.
Brett Thurman's going to start off 11th with Arnaud Janot starting off in 12th. Tony Costello starts off 13th today with Christopher Rhines 14th. And then we have Ron Fusi starting off row 8 next to Brett Barrett with David Flanagan behind those two. Pete Mabroten starting off in 18th position. Jared Keene 19th. Kyle Strikers rounds out your top 20.
And 21st, it'll be Neil Alexander with Brian Hotham in 22nd. Piotr Margula, P23 for him, followed by Spencer Simkovich in the 24th spot. Levi Goffney, one of our other drivers who will unfortunately get a drive-through penalty at the start, will be starting from 25th, so that'll hurt even more. Aaron Law starts 26th. Sean Foes, the last driver with a qualifying time, is 27th. Bridges Schilling and Benah are 29th, 28th, and 30th. You mentioned it's a slightly smaller field, and honestly, thank goodness for that, Adam, because this is a small enough track as it is.
It's a very small track. I mean, you can see them lined up there. They're 2 abreast at this point, and they can barely fit onto the track just behind the pace car. Imagine now trying to go through these corners at 150, 160 miles per hour and see how close they're going to be running while trying to maximize their racing lines. I mean, it's just so hard to run side by side on this track. It's so hard to find a good place to pass as well because most of the corners are sweeping. So it's just a challenging track to drive when you're alone, much less in a pack of 30.
No doubt about that. Getting ready to start off on just about half of a pace lap here, and then we'll get going for 40 minutes of racing. But if you're watching and we aren't showing your favorite driver at that particular moment, you can head over to gsrc.tv, where you can follow all of our live timing and scoring and keep track of your favorite drivers at any point in the race. A few drivers taking their sweet time to get out there. Of course, we know that we're going to have Davies start from pit lane, so he will make us wait the full 2 minutes. It's, of course, not just the passing with the thinness of this track that I think will be difficult, not only just the fact that the lap traffic will be getting in the way of drivers and causing headaches, and that passing in general with the overtaking spots being few is tough, but man, some of the corners around here are just diabolical.
Absolutely, and especially in these GT3 machines, and they look like downforce cars, but compared to the GTEs or even the F-Series monocoque machines, these sports cars, these GT3 sports cars, do not have the same amount of downforce that you would expect from the other series, and it can cause huge problems when it comes to trying to get around these sweeping corners.
Goodway trying to heat up his brakes, looking to get some temperature into his tires on this cool day. But we've got the pace car peeling off, and the green flag is out for Diego Morales, who gets a very good jump, trying to cover off the inside. Goodway finds Macbeth looking up the inside. Does he really want to fight that, knowing that Macbeth is going to be gone soon? He does fight it. Oh, but Macbeth is off on the very first corner.
Oh my goodness, just to put pain to the penalty that he's going to have at the end of this lap anyway. He's got so much to do at this point, starting off at the back of the grid. He's still going to have to take his lap 1 drive-through.
So it's going to be a drop race for sure for him. And now they come into through the island bend and into Shell Oil Corner. Goodway chasing Morales. Revito still in P3, holding on. Then we've got a big train of cars. Palacio, Flores, Williams, Menado, Tremblay as they hit the chicanes for the first time.
Look at this. Goodway tucked up right behind Morales as they exit the chicanes. They're already starting to pull on Revito a little bit. This is going to be a great battle for the lead as these drivers try to keep from making mistakes. Morales has not been a super consistent driver over the course of an entire race. And frankly, neither is Goodway, so it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers behind them handle this. We already have a car off. That's going to be Ron Fusi in the middle of that corner there.
Yeah, he'll get a little bit of a slowdown penalty, but he's already lost plenty of positions. He does rejoin without too much drama, thankfully. They're already getting close to finishing lap 1. Goodway, though, on the attack as Morales is actually going defensive. Down into Lodge Corner. Could Goodway make this around the outside? Not quite. He thought about it, though, as the car squirmed under throttle. And completing lap 1, it is Morales, Goodway, Revito, Palacio.
Another wreck, Brett Barrett in the back. He's gone around. He's safely off track, though, so no one else is going to be involved in this. But we're about to watch and find out where Goodway thinks the best places to pass on this track are, because he seems to have a good weapon. Sean Macbeth taking his penalty now after that early lap 1 spin. He's got a penalty from 2 races ago that he's serving just now by doing a drive-through through the pit lane.
Davies, though, is certainly loving all this wrecking and problems on the first lap. He's already up to 22nd after a pit lane start. And as we watch our 2 leaders, I think Goodway is far enough away that we can maybe go take a look at the replay here real quick, because not much action up at the front of the field. Let's see if we can pull that up.
This is going to be Sean Macbeth. This is right at the start as they go through the first turn. He's going to just clip the grass on the outside, and I think that sends them around. We'll have to take a look here.
Yeah, it seemed unusual, because I didn't think I saw him touch the grass, but this will confirm or deny it.
No, he just gets to
inside.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a bump on the exit curbing of that corner that I noticed in a couple of the other cars that I've run on this circuit. And if you don't have the car prepared for that, you can actually clip. Oh, he did clip the inside curbing just a little bit, Joe.
Yeah, those little knobs on there certainly stick up quite a bit, and I think that hit the bottom of his car as we're back live, and he is running, but obviously he's way down the field. Up at the front, Goodway got close coming into Old Hall. Unfortunately, that's a very tough one to try and pass at, so he had to stay behind Morales, who he's right on board with now, looking back at the Audi of the 74.
Michael Davies with the fastest lap himself as he's trying to get his recovery going, currently in the 22nd position after he started from the pit lane, so he's not as bad off as Macbeth, but he's got some work to do. But look at this, off the back of Morales here, looking at Goodway. Goodway does not have the advantage of having a different different manufacturer to battle with here in front of him, so they're both going to have the same strengths and the same weaknesses depending on their setups. So this is going to be very interesting to see how Goodway's going to try and handle this, or whether he's just going to wait for the pit lane and try and possibly do a little bit of a fuel-saving overcut.
One thing we should clarify about this track as well is that in real life, those tire bundles would probably move at least a little bit. Unfortunately, on iRacing, they do not. So you absolutely do not want to flirt with them too closely, or else you can seriously damage the car. As our top 2 hop over the ridge down towards Lodge. And 21st place, though, Simkovic getting passed by Davies. So that's one more spot gone for him, and almost Did Simkovic pull off to the side there, or what happened?
A little bit, yeah. That seemed to be what happened. Diego Morales with the fastest lap of the race yet again. And now Michael Davies is catching up to a three-way battle for 18th position. This is Peter Malgula, Brian Hotham, and Ron Fusi that he's going to be catching up to. And Davies, he's going super quick right now. Let's see whether he puts in the fastest lap as he comes around. He does not. He had a 2-second slower than his previous lap, unfortunately. But he's definitely working hard to catch up to this battle up ahead of him.
Honestly, if Davies even gets to the top 10, I'll be supremely impressed with how tough it is to try and pass cars here. You can see right now he's on the back of Hotham, just stalking him. As they come up to Island Bend, you could maybe send one up the inside into Shell Oil. And he thinks about it. He's not nearly close enough for it, though. Couldn't shake Hotham off the racing line.
Yeah, Ron Fusi doing a good job of trying to scare Hotham a little bit into a mistake here. It's so easy to try it it's one of those things where you're driving, when you're the driver ahead, you've got to look in your mirror but not react to that mirror too much. But now Fusi's got some trouble. Michael Davies is going to be looking up his inside here.
Can he finally make the pass? Yes, he does.
Oh, man.
Or excuse me, actually defends from Ron Fusi. They head out towards Clay Hill and Water Tower, up towards Druids. Goodway keeps getting close behind Morales, but he's not made another attempt since we last looked. A battle shortly behind them, which is a train that I've mentioned before, has Palacio up at the front of it, but he's starting to gain on Revito, so it's becoming an even bigger train at this point. He's being chased by Flores, Williams, and Menino.
Yeah, quite frankly, I'm a little surprised to see... Oh no, Sean Macbeth's off again, Joe.
Oh, wow, this is an absolute nightmare of a day. And this is in Druids, it looks like.
Oh, this was a classic Audi spin, similar to his one on lap 1. Oh, this is just a rough day for him for sure.
He didn't hit anything, but again, he is losing valuable time here. I think he nudged the inside wall trying to get back going. In the meantime, go ahead.
Yeah, that was Sean Foes you saw going off behind him. But back at the front here, take a look at this. Goodway very tight up there. Looks like Sean Macbeth has taken a tow. He's out of the race.
Wow. A driver that was starting to look like maybe he could be a contender in this championship. And this is going to hurt to the extent I think he might be out of it unless we have extraordinary circumstances. Let's hop a little bit behind here. Brett Thurman and Jean-Marc Tremblay for 8th place have been kind of watching one another. They've got Tony Costello in there just in 10th as they come through Lodge and down through Dearly.
In the battle of the Ferraris here, I'm a little surprised to see the Ferraris seeming to struggle a little bit here as we see Diego Morales putting in another quickest lap. The laps will only get quicker with these cool temperatures and the fuel amounts going down during the course of this race. But here, Jean-Marc Tremblay and Brett Thurman battling with each other, Tony Costello looking on. And these Ferraris just do not seem to be happy on these sweeping turns, which is a little surprising to me as we see Brett Thurman there clipping the inside curb just a little bit too hard. Now he's under threat from Tony Costello from behind.
And you talked about it earlier, just waiting for mistakes from your competitors is almost going to be the only way to go in a lot of places. Looks like Palacio and Flores maybe trade spaces here.
Wow, look at this train we got going. Palacio actually pulling away from Flores and challenging Dan Revito possibly as they head up towards the next chicane. This is the thing with these chicanes is that every lap, if you're not super consistent, every lap it's just a give and take with these chicanes. And it can be one of the easiest places to make a mistake around this circuit. But that being said, the circuit's so easy to make mistakes in general. It's so technical, so precise, with such a small track. It's a dirty track as well. You can see that line there on the track of worn track that it really does affect you when you drive across that line on track there. It's just such a challenging place to drive.
Just an update, don't need to go to it, but Davey's got another one. He's up to P18 now and still climbing. Down and across to complete yet another lap through here in this fight amongst the top 10. That is Dan Revito leading this group, and actually Palacio is closing in on him.
Yeah, I think Palacio definitely has a better turn in this machine. And look at this SRT eSports train that got going in those cars there. We're gonna see through this sweeping corner. Yeah, it looks like Palacio just seems a little bit more comfortable in the high-speed corners, and that's what's seeming to be what gives him the advantage right now, considering most of this circuit is medium to high-speed sweepers.
So I haven't found a chance quite yet. There's one of those Ferraris you thought would be doing well with Revito up in P3 with a whole pack of Audis, and I see a BMW in there as well among the chasers, braking hard for the Hislop chicane, trying to launch out of it through Knickerbrook as the cars swing out onto the curb. And behind there, it looks like that Bimmer is potentially under threat. That's Williams with Menino climbing all over the back of him.
Yeah, Williams is the highest placed BMW, and he's struggling right now on this track. It's not really a track that's very suited to the BMW. We're seeing lots of the BMWs struggle around here, those who are in this circuit. We should drop back to Michael Davies in 17th position, though, as he's trying to make a pass going on the car ahead.
And as that happened, let's stay here. Brett Thurman, unfortunately, had a wreck with Costello. Both of them able to keep going, though, it looks like. And down into Lodge. He's going to send it deep.
A little bit too deep. Now they've got Peter Margulo is going to look for an opportunity. Makes a little bit of contact with the left rear.
Thought he spied an opportunity. Just was not there. Margula has to sit put in P19. Davies desperate to try and get spots while he can early in this race. I almost feel like if I was Davies, I'd maybe take an early pit stop just to maybe get myself away from all these cars that are at least similarly paced.
He clearly has pace as he goes for the inside of this corner, which will be the outside on the chicane. Wow, Neil Alexander thinking like he needed to take evasive action. Here comes Margula up the inside. Oh, he cleans him out.
Both of them off into the kitty litter at Island Bend. It looks like they're going to get the cars back on track and moving.
Alexander saw it coming, Joe, and he went straight to the apex early in the corner. Margula under maximum braking already, had nowhere to go. We're going to see it right here.
Yeah, he tried to be advantageous twice, and opportunistic twice, rather. This second one went completely wrong for him, and for both cars, really. Let's go back to Menino, though, because I think he's gotten to the inside of J.R. Williams, and as they come up the front stretch down into Old Hall, advantage Menino, a nose ahead, the desired inside line. Trying around the outside, though, J.R. Williams is a brave man today. He's going to hold out, and he's going to be rewarded with the inside into Cascades, and he fends him off somehow.
J.R. Williams trying to hang on in that BMW. It's harder and harder to do as they continue to go around, though.
So Williams will retain 6th place with that move. Brilliant stuff from him there as they break down into Shell Oil Corner. That slowed them up a lot, and that's now Jean-Marc Tremblay in P8, who is going to be joining the fight if they keep doing that.
Absolutely, he'll be right there, especially if they go side by side again. Even if Menino tries to affect the pass here, that's going to slow up J.R. Williams a lot. He's going to have to be very careful about another car trying to slip through when that, not when, but if that pass tries to happen.
Incredibly, so far we've only had one DNF, and that's Macbeth. 3 DNSs, Venat, Schilling, and Bridges did not start the race, unfortunately. Watching J.R. Williams now at the lead of this trio, down and into Druids. Menino does look strong. He's been sticking right to that rear bumper.
Absolutely, and Tremblay's not quite as quick as the two of them, but if they keep battling like they were, that's going to bring Tremblay right back into the mix again for sure.
Almost to the halfway point already, with 5 more minutes before we hit that marker. Don't think we've seen anybody take a scheduled stop quite yet. Down through the first turn and up towards Cascades. Looks like the battle in P3 getting ever closer.
Yeah, Palacio's been getting really close to the back of Revito. Jorge Flores now looking for an opportunity as well. This is a 3-way fight that's been tooth and nail for these drivers for a little bit here. Flores trying to get the better of Palacio is just not working out for him. Revito, though, seems to be a little slow through the back end of the course, especially the quicker sweepers that we get towards the further end of the course. And that's where Palacio seems to make his move. We're going to jump on board with Flores and see how he's tackling this technical course.
Right on board, looking ahead at Palacio, down into the chicane, weaving through those tire bales as they come out of there now through Knickerbrook, and Ravito strong off of that corner, left him behind with a decent gap. And this is exactly where they want to be close, coming out of Druids down towards Lodge. A little bit of a slide. Oh, and now they're going to get the chance right back. Ravito, unfortunately, wide at the apexes. Palacio, who closes in, wasn't there to snatch it up. Flores couldn't do anything either.
Oh, that Lodge is such a challenging corner. It's falls away from you on the exit, so you want to put down the power, but you can't. If you put down too much power, you end up spinning the car out. It happens a lot around here. Look at this, though. These two drivers neck and neck. Ravito, this is where Palacio seems to get his advantage, but he can't do anything with it because we have this long left-hand sweeper as they head towards the hairpin. And this is where Shell Oil corner really starts to play an effect here. If Palacio could get right in behind Ravito and stay right in behind him as they head towards Shell Oil, he might be able to make a dive. But at this point, he's too far back.
Only 3 drivers and something of a stalemate early on. They've lost gap to the front. You can see on our pictures that it's about 5 seconds up to Goodway, who still holds on to Morales, but it's been pretty consistent since we last looked, hanging it around half a second between our top 2. So there's really not a whole lot going on up there.
And that being said, Joe, I think that's more calculated from Goodway. I think he might be trying to do some fuel saving and possibly overcut at this track. We're going to find out as we get closer in towards that halfway point. But Flores with a great exit off of that final chicane there. He's got a great run. He does not look at the inside, though, but look at this. Palacio takes a little bit of a deep braking point. That's going to make him even more susceptible when they come up towards Lodge here.
A little bit of a look. Flores doesn't send it in. Doesn't feel confident about it yet. By the way, let's stick here, but both Morales and Goodway are 2 drivers who have won this season, looking for victory number 2. Certainly positioned well to try and take it. That's if Morales can keep it on the road today.
Well, that's been a struggle this season, unfortunately, and with the pressure behind from Goodway, I mean, it's not that much pressure right now, 0.8 seconds, but that could definitely come into play for sure.
Now, where is Davies? Because we haven't looked at him in a while. I'm just checking on my own. I think he's down in 17th at this point, working on Kyle Strykars and Jared Keene, who are the next up the road from him. In fact, why don't we take a glance, because I think he's closed the gap down to about 0.3.
Yeah, these two are battling, Joe, and as they continue to battle, Kyle Strykars is looking for ways around Jared Keene, and Michael Davies coming up behind. He has shown no quarter when it comes to passing so far. He's left 0 time on the board. So he's definitely going to be trying to get by, but if Kyle Strykars doesn't see him in his rear view, this might become problems. But here comes Davies' favorite place to pass so far. Let's see whether he sends it up the inside again.
I think he's nearly close enough this time. Looks like he may have lost the element of surprise, because I thought for a while Strykars, who was more distracted by trying to attack Keene, now he's able to go on the defensive, watching his mirrors, seeing the orange number 75 closing up behind him. He certainly has a pace advantage over the 07. Can he make good on it? He goes close to the back of the Ferrari, who goes defensive down into Lodge. Doesn't really need to. Didn't seem like Davies was that close.
Yeah, Davies clipped the grass on the exit of the previous corner, so that meant Strykars could streak away. But Strykars looking very loose in that Ferrari. I think he's trying to use that as a way to get the Ferrari to rotate through the center of the corners, which is a little bit of a struggle depending on how you set up the Ferrari. But now Strykars back up to the back of Keene, so Davies might be running out of tires to try and affect these passes, and I don't think, in fact, I'm pretty sure they're not going to take tires on this circuit, considering it's a pretty low percentage, 100% throttle circuit.
So let's step away from here and give a little bit of a glance to the top 2. Morales ahead of Goodway, who's clawed a couple tenths back. It's now down to 4 tenths between the pair of them. He's not within attacking range. Like you said, it's not full throttle in many places, so I'm not sure how much he'd be able to really save fuel back here.
Yeah, he is, you can save fuel even if you're not full throttle most of the places. You can definitely get a draft off of the driver ahead. But more than anything, I think it's just trying to put a bug in Morales at this point. Let's actually drop down to P12, though, because it looks like Pete Mabroten's trying to make a move on Dave Flanagan, making a move on Pete Mabroten up the inside of Lodge.
And I think he's got it, using that good braking of the BMW to sneak by the Ferrari, who's actually heading into pit lane right now.
Might as well take that opportunity from Mabroten. That being said, that was a nice four-way battle with P11.
Oh, no.
Oh, he's got the first slot.
Yeah, and I'm sure he feels like that his helmet right now. Just death, unfortunately, because you cannot see. Oh, he took a tow. He had to take a tow because he couldn't get into his stall, I don't think.
Yeah, oh my goodness, and he's out.
Well, yeah, he did. What? That is bizarre. So there must have been extenuating circumstances beyond what we were seeing there. Let's head back to Palacio, because Revito is under huge threat as they came into his lap corner, his lap chicane. Jorge Flores as well was able to close in, but then they streaked apart once more. It's just tantalizing for our drivers.
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of the gaps seem to close up as they get closer to the pit stops. Some drivers wanting to affect some passes before they head into pit lane. And this is one of the opportunities here that we're seeing with Palacio trying to close in on Revito with Flores tucked in behind. Is anybody going to come to the pit lane now? No. It's just 18 minutes left to go in this race, so they're past that halfway point. They can come in now and still be competitive.
Question is, who is willing to try for that undercut? Flores, I wonder if Flores is just trying to stay patient here, because he knows as soon as one of them makes an attempt, it's probably going to open the door for him.
Looks like Brett Thurman's going to be our first driver to take regular pit service, so he's into the pit lane. But as we continue to watch this battle, the pit stops are really going to change the complexion of this race for sure, to see who is able to get into the pits safely and quickly. We've seen how much it can affect other series in the PRL, and we're going to see it here tonight as well.
The leaders now past the first lapper. Actually, no, the lapper checked up Morales, and Goodway thought he had an opportunity, but unfortunately the track is so narrow he just could not find his way by.
I think he's going to have an opportunity here, though. It looks like Morales is going to try and cover him off on the inside. This is tight. Look at how tight it is as they go through that corner. Look at this. Goodway trying to go around the outside. They make a little bit of contact, but they're going to still stay straight. Goodway makes the pass.
Covers him off as soon as he's cleared. Down into Lodge corner. Morales going to try and pay him back, but he's off into the marbles. He loses grip. Fantastic stuff from Lewis Goodway. My goodness.
Man, I mean, that's such a low percentage move here on iRacing, but he's able to get it done. The contact being solid between the two of them. They're able to keep going. Wow, very tight racing, very good racing between the two drivers. Respectful, too.
Gutsy. That is what that move was. But Morales is not giving up. He's staying within attacking range. He takes a little bit of a look into Island Bend. Don't think he's going to be able to try anything into Shell Oil, and indeed, he'll stay slotted in line. This has all been happening still in front of Neil Alexander, who's gotten a front row seat to the excitement, just going, please don't hit each other. Please don't hit each other.
Yeah, that was interesting. Goodway took a shallow entry into Shell Oil, and I was expecting Morales to go wide and try and get an early apex off of the hairpin to try and get a good shot out, but he took a shallow entry as well, so a little bit, maybe possibly a little bit too glued to the rear bumper there of Goodway.
I think Jared Keane just lost 2 positions this lap. Oh, there's a spin in front of him. Ron Fusi is off in Island Bend.
Yeah, Keane's not had a great last couple laps, and Fusi having not a great opportunity either. We're going to see Fusi take this spin here as he went too deep through, oh my goodness, through
yeah.
Island Bend, clips the outside grass and spinning, and it ends up parked, making contact with that Armco on the exit of Shell Oil.
Yeah, but if you're going to go off there, I mean, that's the side you want to go off on, because otherwise he would have slammed into that tire barrier that's just perpendicular to the track to stop cars from sliding into the hairpin. Looks like we've got one of our first stoppers taking a gamble. Jorge Flores is down pit lane.
Yeah, he's deciding to take this pit stop because he actually went off into the grass underneath the bridge. So he's fallen back about 2 seconds before coming into this pit stop. So decided to take the pit stop now, possibly get a little bit of clear track and maybe make up some time. But he's not going to have quite that fortune, I don't think. Yes, he actually is.
Yeah.
Going to come out 4 seconds ahead of Carl Strykars with 5 seconds up to David Flanagan. He's got some clear track to work with.
Brilliant strategy call there. That gives him all sorts of clean air to focus on his own race now. So our leaders work their way down into his lap. Behind them, Palacio is actually looking to attack Ravito. They're going to go side by side into the chicane. That rarely works. And in fact, it doesn't work for Palacio, who has to back out of the attempt.
Yeah, Palacio tried to get up the outside, but unfortunately, Ravito covering off the corner very well. And that put Palacio on the outside of that corner, meant he couldn't get through the chicane very effectively. He wasn't quite far enough alongside or braking well enough to be able to make the corner. Brian Hotham has come in for his pit stop. He comes back out in the 21st position, and will try and get going again. Michael Davies also has taken his pit stop. He came back out in 20th, but with most of the cars left to pit, that's going to be an interesting development. And here comes Ravito into the pits himself.
Is he responding potentially to... Oh, did he almost hit the wall there on the entry? I wonder if he's responding to Jorge Flores. Let's make sure he doesn't get jumped. Our top two remain within half a second of one another. They've been this close just about since the drop of the green, but now it's been reversed as Morales is chasing Goodway.
Yeah, Morales definitely trying to improve upon his position here. He's definitely in that best position to possibly, it's so tight between the two of them. Goodway with that amazing pass. I mean, that shows just how challenging it is to pass a fast driver around here. Morales, no slouch himself, but Goodway making that excellent pass around the outside of Lodge. I mean, it's so impressive for sure. I mean, these two drivers are nip and tuck fastest laps for sure.
Yeah, the best for Goodway, a 32.5. Well, the best for Morales is a 32.2. And we've got more takers towards the back of the pack, taking stops. We're getting to the end of the pit window, so I expect we'll see some of our leaders start to duck in as they find themselves an opening in the traffic that they think they can take advantage of. Neither of these top two head on in. Lap driver in front of them does go in. That's Levi Goffany.
I'd love to jump back to Dan Ravito and Jorge Flores, because that battle that was separated between the two of them before the pit stops now has come back together, as Ravito has taken that pit stop and Flores is now tucked up right behind him. So that early pit stop worked out for Flores. He got that clear track position and has now closed the gap to Ravito. And wow, a lot of our front runners coming in.
A lot of them indeed. Palacio, Menino, Williams, Tremblay. In fact, just about everybody except our top two are in. Ravito coming around right now, and he is going to get past Palacio. Flores got past Palacio too. Both of them left him in the dust. Julio was the slowest pit stop of the trio. J.R. Williams comes out way behind them.
Wow. So going longer is definitely not helping these drivers as far as their fuel strategy is concerned. So at this point, if I'm Diego Morales, I'm seeing that, I'm thinking about coming in right now.
The question is, has been paying close enough attention? And can they even go much farther? They're the only other two that have not stopped. Everybody else in the field has been in and out for their fuel. Morales is definitely pushing as he squirmed a little bit coming off the corner. Oh, and he sends it in deep under braking to get down to the line.
Awesome stuff from those two. They should have the first couple of boxes here. Let's see whether or not Goodway saved any fuel here behind Morales. That might be the difference here.
He also got in first. And yes, he is out well clear of Morales. Doesn't look like Revito's going to gain much through the sequence to try and run them down. So it is still a two-horse race with less than 10 minutes to go.
Awesome. Half a second was the difference in the pit stops. When they came in, they were separated by 0.2. The gap now, 1.1 seconds. So they maximized everything about coming in and out of the pits equally. It was just that pit lane delta that made the difference.
Incredible stuff. The battle behind them is now the closer one between Revito and Flores. As they come up into Shell Oil Corner. There you see the Ferrari of Dan Revito, the number 84 with Jorge Flores, and the 929 Audi. Neither of these drivers really up vying for the championship currently, although Dan Revito, I say that, he is 7th, and I said he's 17 points behind. He's going to gain points on Davies today and on Macbeth, but J.R. Williams is not too far behind, and of course Diego Morales currently on the podium. In fact, where is Davies lately? Oh, he's out. Might be making a pass right now. He's on Jared Keane. He was thinking about a pass, but into Island Bend. That one is tough.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, Jared Keane tucked up behind Strykars is going to make this a little bit more difficult. Davies, though, still trying to get past these two even after the pit stop cycle. Look at that, Keane taking very deep into the chicane. This is going to give an opportunity for Davies. He might have an opportunity up the inside. He's going to look for it. He's going to signal to Keane that he wants to go. Let's see what their late breaks here.
He's got the inside, almost shoves him out of the way. A little bit of elbow grease in there. And Michael Davies claims 15th.
Now he's got Kyle Strykars up ahead of him. That'll take about a lap or two to get done. Davies is going to have a lot of work to do to get up to that top 10 you were talking about, Joe. He's got about 15 seconds up to that top 10. Actually, top 10 currently under a battle between Tony Costello Thurman and David Flanagan for 11th position.
A few laps left. Not sure that he's got enough steam to try and do that. He's going to have to look for those battles. Now, how about Lewis Goodway? Now that he has broken the draft on Diego Morales, he's gapped him by about 0.7 since the pit stops. It's up to 1.9 now.
Yeah, very, very impressive drive from him as he continues to pull a gap over Morales. Morales had the pace earlier on, but ever since later on in this race, I mean, Goodway just bided his time. Now Goodway out to that nearly 2.5 second lead. I don't think Morales just has the left.
And here's the thing, Goodway is a concern for Diego Morales because he's 2 points behind Morales coming into this race. However, yeah, okay, Goodway took the pole, actually. So make that, as soon as they gridded, it was only 1 point between them. So this could actually move him ahead of Diego Morales if they finish as they are.
We're going to head over to Davies as he's trying to take an opportunity on Kyle Strykars here. Strykars definitely being fairly aggressive on the defense. Now Davies, the reason why we keep talking about him, he's our current championship leader with only 11 points over Diego Morales. So he needs every point he can get here. But as it is, I think Morales would take over that championship lead. Michael Davies needs to get this position.
The even crazier thing is this will be the first time that Davies won't finish within the top 5. And I feel pretty confident in saying that currently, as he isn't able to make a move down into Lodge. And I think it's fair to say, though, that the only reason he's not going to get a top 5 is because of his penalty.
Absolutely, but that's why they hand out the penalties. They want to keep drivers from doing things that they deem are irresponsible. And if the penalty doesn't hurt, then drivers will take that penalty all the time. So this is just proving that the penalties definitely have a pretty strong disciplinary effect.
Absolutely. Got to stay on the good side of the stewards. Still stuck behind the 07 of Kyle Strykars. Could he set him up maybe out of Shell Oil? Looks for the launch, but it doesn't seem to be there.
Strykars is on the edge right now, but that being said, he's not driving beyond his limits, and he's making it very difficult for Davies to get the movement.
Has to stick to his line and hit his marks, it seems. Michael Davies can only sit there and be frustrated. That wasn't a mark, though. Way off the second apex. Kyle Strykars down through his lap.
Now, Davies' fastest lap is a 33 flat. He generally runs in the 33.7 range. Right now, he's running 34.7s behind Strykars, so he is faster on raw pace, but Strykars is just positioning his car in such a way that Davies can't get a run off the corners. He can't get set up for a pass. Even here, oh, he's just going to go for the late dive. Strykars gives him enough room. Can Davies get the exit strength? Yes, he can. They're going to be side by side as they cross the line. A little bit of contact door to door.
To lose the overlap, so Strykars could chop him off if he feels like it. He doesn't. He gives him space. Both of them slow through the corner, and this means that Ron Fusi is coming back into the equation.
Holy smokes, Davies got within inches of Strykars' right rear tire there. Ron Fusi getting back into this battle. Oh man, that was some stressful stuff, but don't think that Davies is going to let this go without a fight.
Do it on reputation alone, and it didn't quite work how he hoped. Even still, shows his nose down into shell oil. Can't get the overlap that he needs. They launch off the turn. Clearly, he's gotten into the head of Strykars now. He knows he's there. He knows he's got to defend.
Pretty decent exit from Davies here. Davies, here comes his favorite passing zone. He's going to show his nose up the inside, but he knows Strykars is going to break late too. Wow, Davies, latest breaker there into the chicane. He makes it work.
Fantastic stuff. Clears him out. Davies up to P14, but a 15-second gap up to Flanagan means that any more positions leaves him only looking for wreck. 3 minutes to go, and Lewis Goodway has kept it at about 1.9 seconds, hasn't gained too much over Morales since we last looked. In fact, he's got traffic now with Spencer Simkovich, who's going to pull out of the way. Nice behavior there from the 012.
Spencer not having his greatest day, but he's keeping his eyes peeled around the track, respecting that blue flag in a way that the GT3 drivers would like. But Goodway's so consistent, so good around these corners, and he hasn't pulled away from Morales. Morales has pulled back another second, but it might be too little too late here.
A little bit of a fight down in 11th. This is Costello ahead of Thurman and Flanagan. We've already seen Flanagan make some good moves here today. Can he do any more in these final few minutes? Probably about 2 or 3 laps left.
We've got Levi Goffney up ahead of them, a lapped car. That could define this battle depending on when they catch him. Thurman's actually going to back off here and see what happens with Levi. He's not really pressing on Costello at this point. He wants to see where that lap car is going to go. He's going to set up a good exit here and probably try and challenge Costello as they head through the next corners. This is going to be interesting.
Goffney's not pulling over yet. He could have a good chance to try and get out of their way down into Lodge. Chooses not to. He's just running his line. Flanagan getting close to the back of Thurman's Ferrari now. As they come through Deer Leap. Is Goffney going to let them through now? Yes, he is. There he goes.
All right, so that did not affect the race. I think Costello's going to be thankful for that, but look at that. Thurman right back onto the back of Costello. He's even going to look on the inside there through the kink. He manages to stay outside of it, but we're going to take... Oh my goodness, look at the gap at the lead though, Joe. It's closed.
Oh, I wonder if traffic slowed up Goodway or something, or did he make a mistake? I'm checking real quick to see what happened here, and I'm not seeing anything drastic.
Coming to the white flag this time around. So I don't think anything... the last driver they passed was Spencer Semkovich, and he pulled over. So I think this is just raw pace. Diogo's been saving something here.
Goodway maybe a little bit short on fuel as well. If he is, Morales probably is too, because their fuel stops were pretty close to one another. Lapper's going to stay out of the way, and that's actually a crucial buffer that Goodway needed to hold up Diego Morales. White flag is out. This is it. If Goodway can hold on, he'll take his first win since round 1.
Oh, Flores went around. I think Flores took a tow rather And so I think we're going to check that out after the race. We got to stay with this battle, though. Morales definitely trying to make headway on Goodway. And Brett Barrett up ahead. I don't think they're going to catch him before the end of this lap, Joe.
Louis Goodway leads ahead of Diego Morales. Does he have the nerves of steel to hold on, to not make mistakes, to deny him an opportunity? Barrett in front of them is kind of slow here. They might actually get him before this lap is over. Come out of Knickerbrook now, up towards Clay Hill and Water Tower. Flores was a little shy on fuel, had to make an extra stop. That has got to be gutting. They are going to catch the lapped car, but Barrett sees it coming. He's going to pull off to the side for 1 and for 2. There we go. So it is a clear run to the line. Not going to get any interference. Just the way Goodway probably wanted it, because he's going to win today. Number 2 this season for Louis Goodway, and it happens at Oulton Park.
All eyes on the rest of our championship finishers. The battle for 11th, unfortunately, is separated just a little bit. We're going to take a look at this battle, though, because Tony Costello and Brett Thurman have been able to get past David Flanagan.
They're heading down towards Druids here. Double right-hander. Thurman looking like he's fallen away from Costello. How desperate is Flanagan? Desperate enough that he's trying to show his nose. I didn't think he was actually going to try a move there. And as they come off the line, Costello's going to get 11th, Thurman 12th, and Flanagan 13th. For those wondering, Davies is directly behind them. His Brock stopped at P14. Strikers, though. Fusi, oh no! Fusi wrecks it with 1 corner to go. Where's Keen? Keen's well enough back. I think he can lip it to the line. Fusi will at least retain P14, but his ego slightly bruised.
Yeah, this was a great attempt from Fusi, but he just got the tires just a little bit too hot coming off the corner. Gets onto that curb with the left rear, spins the rear tires, and gets into the outside wall.
Well, that's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. And I think Goodway maybe was short on fuel because he's getting a push from Davies. We'll talk about that after this break, where we'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Oulton Park, where we just watched round 6 of the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. Louis Goodway started it in second and finished in the top spot. He had to fight Diego Morales, who took that bonus point. I had that reversed during the race, by the way. It was Morales who took the pole, which means they might actually be tied here after this race, and it might be for the top spot in the points. Dan Revito finished behind them to round out the podium, with Julio Palacio finishing fourth. J.R. Williams with a P5 was followed by David Menino. Something of a sort of quiet race. He had a couple battles in there, but otherwise we didn't see him much after halfway. Jean-Marc Tremblay was seventh, followed by Jorge Flores, who had a miraculous eighth considering he had to take an extra pit stop. Arnaud Genet finished in ninth, and Christopher Rines rounds out your top 10.
Tony Costello was able to hold off the extremely ambitious Brett Thurman. David Flanagan able to come home in 13th today, with Michael Davies coming home in 14th and almost positively losing his points lead. We'll see where he comes out when we get to next week's race. Kyle Strykars just getting passed by Michael Davies towards the end of that race and holding on to the position after Ron Fusi spun off there. Ron Fusi comes home in 16th position. Jared Keene in 17th, also part of that battle earlier on, but fell back. Brian Hotham in 18th position. Peter Margula comes home in 19th, and your first car lap down, Brett Barrett in 20th.
Got Alexander, Simkovich, and Goffney, along with Law, who actually saw the checkered flag, but then from there, it is drivers who DNF'd all the way down. We've got third place ready to talk to us, Dan Revito, who started on the outside of row 2 and finished on the podium. Dan, it's your third top 5 of the season, and this one, you get to spray the champagne. For how difficult this track is, I have to imagine this one feels good.
Yeah, I'll take it for sure. It was that's probably one of the hardest fought races I've had certainly this season. But I had a couple of SRT guys behind me in my mirror the whole way, and just didn't let up at all. I'm real happy to come home P3.
We saw you come in the lap after Flores did. Was that in response to him, or was that the scheduled lap you meant to come in anyways?
I came in. I guess I came in a lap earlier than I had anticipated, but I knew that we wanted. I knew I wanted to split it up with both Jorge and Julio, and once the first guy went in, I thought, all right, I had a little bit of a break here, and came in and got lucky. Looks like Julio lost a little bit of time in the pits and just squeaked out ahead of Jorge, but then the pressure was right back on me.
So here's the wild thing: 17 points out from the points leader coming into this race, but because of Davies and Macbeth both having pretty bad days, I think you might even potentially be launched into the top 3 in points, because you may be overtaking J.R. Williams as well. Is that sort of a shock for you?
We'll be screenshotting that and putting it on my fridge if that's the case.
I love it.
I'll be due for a tough one this week, so I'm not gonna feel too bad, I guess, there. But I'm excited for the finish, and man, I'm gonna enjoy this while I got it.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Well, congratulations. Do you want to thank anybody as you take off here?
Once again, just all the guys on the SRT eSports team. Again, we have a blast racing each other, and racing sim tools and Racebox for helping us out. Big thanks to all those guys.
Vito obviously proud of his accomplishments this season, and he should be. That's great stuff. And looks like Adam has caught up with our winner, Lewis Goodway.
Yeah, Lewis, fantastic win today, but talk to me about that pass you made on Diego around the outside of Druids. How tight was that, and how hard were you pushing there?
It was pretty good, wasn't it? I've just watched it back, and we were about an inch apart.
Yeah, fantastic pass for sure, Lewis. And before that, were you sitting in behind him just trying to conserve fuel, or were you trying to size him up for a pass the entire first stint?
Well, I was trying to get as close as possible, but he was very fast in like the last sector. But I'd gained through the chicane, so.
Yeah, what do you think made the difference after the pit stop? Were you able to pull the gap? Were you just were you continuing to push hard, or do you just feel like you had a little bit more confidence in the car today?
I like how the car feels after the stop. The balance changes slightly. I kind of like it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And for sure, around this track, I mean, this track is very difficult. Is this a track that you like, or is this one of the tracks that you're glad to have in your rearview mirror?
I love this track. It's great. I've been to it a few times in real life.
Absolutely. And heading into next week, we have Monza. So A very different track for sure. Are you hoping for a similar result there, or are the draft tracks a little bit more difficult for you?
Yeah, the less said about Monza, the better. Not a fan.
Absolutely, Lewis. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Just everyone at SimMSA. Guess that's it, really.
All right, Lewis. That's our winner, Lewis Goodway. Thanks for talking to us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. All right, Joe, back to you.
Clearly eager to go celebrate, just not too much to say today, despite a second victory. Before we go, we definitely want to thank the sponsors ourselves, of course, starting with NinjaTrader. And if you want to check them out, they are at NinjaTrader.com. SimMSA, Simulation Motorsports Affinity, can be found at SimMSA.net. And then Butt Kicker. Their products can be found at TheButtKicker.com. Thanks goes out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts. They're listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her contacts are there as well. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Social media is also Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, maybe go check out our merchandise store. We got a link down in the description below, just gsrc.storenv.com, and make sure and subscribe while you're down there. The next race, as we mentioned, they're going to Monza, probably the first track that it feels like something other than a tight technical track that they've run all season long. That'll be Monday, November 2nd at 9 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series so listed on the screen. Check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.